Fiona, the Theatre Mouse. Chapter 1, Mouse in Residence. No one in the Noodle Soup Community Theatre knew about the mouse family living behind the dressing room wall. But Wilson the janitor had his suspicions. He was annoyed by the little black droppings he sometimes found under the counter and behind the hat rack. "But you see, the traps are always empty," he said to himself with a chuckle. "I guess I've sent them packing." Fat chance that. Ma Mouse would not budge. She stayed in her cozy corner even after her dear late husband was fooled into eating peanut butter smeared on a rickety trap. She had even given birth to a whole new generation of mice that were nicely settled in their nest of cloth scraps, ribbons, and hat feathers. One day, as Ma was gazing at her babies lovingly, the director of the Noodle Soup Community Theatre called out the names of the characters in the humans' upcoming play, Brigadoon. Ma nodded her head. Wouldn't their daddy be pleased as punch to see them now? And what pretty names! Jean, Charlie, Tommy, Jeff, Jane, Andrew, and Fiona. Daddy always did like the theatre. As the days passed, the baby mice became so used to hearing the theatre director call out their names that they stopped taking notice. All that is, except Fiona, whose ears pricked up whenever she heard her name. "Ma, have you ever wanted to dance on stage?" Fiona asked one day, after Ma had just shown them all her best pirouette. Ma looked at her daughter sternly and said, "Fig juice, don't be silly. And don't any of you even think about wandering onto that stage. Humans are dangerous. You can never tell what they might do." All of the youngsters obeyed their mother, all that is except Fiona. Fiona meant to obey, but then the music started up. Ma and her other young mice, each of whose fur was starting to fill in nicely, twirled around and around until one mouse bumped into another. Someone started to bicker. A third mouse shouted when somebody stepped on his tail. The space felt so stuffy that Fiona squeezed through a chink in the wall to get a breath of fresh air. Outside the nest, Fiona found even more confusion. She kept to the edge of the wall, of course, the way her mother had taught her to do when they went night foraging. Only this time there were people around. One kept calling to another, "Fiona, Fiona has to be ready to come on stage at a moment's notice. If you are not ready, there are plenty of others who would love to be Fiona." Fiona Mouse sat back on her haunches. "I had no idea," she whispered to herself, "that so many others would love to be me." Fiona couldn't resist following the two women out of the costume room and then backstage, where, quick as a lick, Fiona scooted under the green folds of the velvet curtain. From there, she could watch the humans dance. Fiona felt a tickle in her tummy. The huge legs of the people kicked and leapt into the air the same way that Ma had taught Fiona and her brothers and sisters to do. And the songs they sang were the same songs that Ma sang when tucking them into the nest for a nap. Nobody bothered about the curtain Fiona had rolled herself in. Then a man came on the stage and began to sing a rousing version of "I'll Go Home with Bonnie Jean." Even though he kicked and hopped as he belted out the song, Fiona was so tired that she let herself be lulled to sleep. When she awoke, the stage was empty. Everything was quiet. She tried to untangle herself from the curtain, but no matter how she pulled and tugged, her paws got all tangled up and stuck. Fiona started to panic. She gave one more yank, and the curtain underneath her came loose. She went tumbling across the stage and over the edge with a thump. "Ow!" she squeaked from underneath the front row seat. It was probably just around then, after she had licked the bump on her back leg, that Fiona looked up and saw someone swooping overhead. That's the end of chapter 1 of Fiona the Theatre Mouse. There are 10 chapters in the book, and I hope you get to read them all. Thanks.